Hi, my name is Dean Sickler with Golden Paintworks. Welcome back to our series on decorative glazing. I've covered what glazes are and how to work with them on one video, glazing on walls in another, and now antiquing with glaze for our final. Antiquing furniture, cabinets, and millwork is a time-honored tradition that artisans have used for hundreds of years to both add a patina of age and/or visual interest to just about anything. Applying and then rubbing off a thin colored glaze over a painted surface will leave vestiges of color hanging in the voids and enhance them visually. It also helps to finish a multicolor scheme by unifying the different colors with a neutral element. The neutral element being, of course, a colored glaze. Any kind of a neutral color will work to make an antiquing glaze, but the most commonly used pigment by far is raw umber. It's often warmed up or softened with the addition of yellow oxide or raw sienna, but use half as much of the yellow as you do the raw umber, or 2 parts raw umber with 1 part yellow oxide. This is the formula for a classic tea stain glaze. For a warm, rich glaze, just use burnt umber. This is great over reds and golds. These slow-dry fluid acrylics by Golden Paintworks are excellent for coloring glazes because they're high quality and will not make the glaze dry any faster, which is a problem using regular paint. Before I get started, let me explain the color that I'm going to use. This is going to be a classic tea stain glaze, 4 parts raw umber, 2 parts yellow oxide, just by itself, and into a 16:1 glaze. This is going to be my lightest color glaze, 16 parts glazing medium to 1 part paint. My medium colored glaze is 8:1, and my darkest colored glaze is going to be 4 parts glazing medium to 1 part of the acrylic paint. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using 3 different moldings for an example of a light, medium, and dark colored antiquing glaze. I'll start with a light antiquing glaze first. This is a ratio of 16:1. That is 16 parts glaze, 1 part acrylic, slow-dry fluid acrylic. You want to get it on all visible parts of the molding, even the parts that only tall people can see, and for the parts that short people can see. There. Okay. I'm going to be removing it with about 2 square yards of medium to low grade cheesecloth. I like to work with cheesecloth because it takes off a fairly uniform amount of glaze each time. You start with it very light, going over it each with several short strokes like this, slowly taking it off. I have it kind of in a pad here also. You want to start off slow. You can get faster as you become more proficient at it. There is antiquing glaze. Now, if you want, if it's a little bit heavy in the moldings like this, you could take a clean, dry brush like this and very gently stretch those out, just to make them a little bit softer. There, all it takes is one or 2 strokes. Okay, and I'll continue with the medium colored glaze. This glaze is made at a ratio of 8:1. That is 8 parts glaze to 1 part fluid acrylic. Okay, then stretch it out. Again, I'll be using cheesecloth to remove it. Start off with a little bit at a time. This time I actually want to leave on a little bit more glaze here, so I'm not going to work on it quite so hard. Okay, I'll leave it like that, and I'll take a dry brush and just stroke it out just to even out the glaze. See how soft it makes it? There. If you want, you can detail this a little bit more, get a little bit higher contrast by using cloth, just a cotton cloth like this. Put your fingers through it so you have a nice pad, and you can actually hold it flat like that. You can get a nice high contrast like that. So I'll take off the top piece here also. Let's try this other little piece here. You have quite a bit of control over this if you want. Here's a little bit higher contrast. Okay, well here, I'll take off the center piece a little bit here too. Now I'll come back with a darker color antiquing glaze. Okay, and I have my darkest glaze here. This glaze has quite a bit of pigment inside of it. It's a ratio of 2 to 1. That is 2 parts glazing medium and 1 part acrylic fluid colors, fluid paints, the slow dry fluid paints. I'd highly recommend using the slow dry acrylic colors for this, because if you were to put in this much acrylic paint, regular artist paints, it would dry up very, very fast. You know, in kitchen cabinets, you always have that one cabinet door that's usually a broom closet or the pantry possibly. It goes floor to ceiling with 2 doors, but you have that one panel that's very tall, so you need a lot of working time with that. Okay, I'm going to use my same cheesecloth here with a fresh area. Hold it in a pad like this, and just slowly start stroking it off. Because you don't want to take off too much here this time. Okay. Now you can also take the soft brush here and just kind of stretch that out, make it a little bit more uniform. I'm very gently landing it off and feathering off. Landing on, feathering off. Every place you land is going to look a little bit different, so you have to clean that up too. Okay, there. And onto cabinets and doors. Now you want to follow the same procedure on cabinet doors as you would on a regular hanging door. That is, paint from the inside out. Start with the center panel, then go to the 2 rails, then finish up with the 2 outside stiles. The glaze I'm going to be using is the light colored glaze. It's a 16 to 1 ratio. 16 parts glaze, 1 part acrylic paint. I'm going to actually be applying the glaze on the broad area here with a 4-inch wide 3/8 inch nap roller. It puts it on nice and evenly and makes the whole job go on a lot faster. It doesn't have to go on very thick, but it just puts it on nice and quickly. Then I'll take my brush and go around the outside like this. Take it out of the corners so it's not so heavy. Okay, you can stroke this out. Okay, I'll be using my 2 square yards of cotton cheesecloth again. And again, just start taking it off very lightly in somewhat short strokes. You could leave more or less of the glaze on here, depending on how old you want the cabinets to look or how much character they have. I like to leave them fairly light myself. Okay. Like I said, you could take more or less of this glaze off on the interior here. Generally, you want to play with it a bit though. Then apply the glaze on the outside. Okay, I'll take the cheesecloth here. Now I want to work on the 2 rails first. Just take off a little bit at a time. Be careful you don't take it off the center panel, at least not too much. Okay, that one, and then this one down here. Then finish off on the actual stiles. This is the way the cabinet is built, with rails and stiles like this. You actually go like this. So you want to keep your strokes going in that direction. Okay, you can continue to finesse the door here, but a lot of people like it just even left a little bit rough like this. So I'll call this finished. We'll go on to another door where we have a much higher contrast. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do a high contrast glaze. Instead of antiquing, this is more to bring out the character of the piece. Rather than make it look old, it's going to give it very strong characteristics or make it distinct. So the glaze I'm using is the very strong glaze. That's a 4:1 ratio, and the cloth I'm going to use is just cotton cloth. This is like a t-shirt material, and I'll be holding it like a pad in my fingers like this, just to take off the high points. And I want to leave it hanging there as much as I can. Third thing you may want to have is a variety of soft artist brushes, liners, pointed brushes, sword liners. What this will do is just to help connect some areas that may get missing. Just handy to have around. Okay. Again, you want to work on the inside out. So I'm just going to try to get some color in this part right here first. Okay, there's that piece. Now I'm going to work on one piece of molding at a time. A little bit like that. Okay, now I'm going to speed things up. Okay, you'll see you'll have little areas like right here that's missing some glaze. Rather than start over again, I can take a small brush like this and just go ahead and add a little bit of glaze in there. There. Like that. Take your cloth again, wipe it off. Okay, I'm finished now. All that remains is maybe to clean off the face here. Now, what works much better than water is actually some of the uncolored glaze. So I'm going to put a bit of that on my cotton cloth here. And that'll take all the glaze off the flat areas. And it won't leave a hole like water does. There we go, a nice, clean, high contrast glaze.